When my mother called me that Tuesday afternoon and said, "Emma, pack your things and leave by Friday. Your sister's coming to stay," I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just smiled, calmly started packing, and made one phone call to my property manager. Within 48 hours, my parents received an eviction notice from the house they thought was theirs. But here's the twist. I owned it, and that wasn't even the biggest secret I'd been keeping from them. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let me know where you're listening from in the comments. My name is Emma Hartwell, and for 29 years, I've been the overlooked daughter. You know the type, the one who's always there but never really seen. While my older sister Madison got standing ovations for breathing, I got polite nods for actual accomplishments. Madison made the honor roll, family dinner celebration. I graduated top of my class? That's nice, dear. Can you pass the salt? It wasn't cruel, exactly. It was worse. It was indifference wrapped in casual dismissal, and I'd swallowed it my whole life thinking that one day, somehow, they'd finally see me. That Tuesday started like any other. I was working from my home office, well, what my parents thought was just my bedroom in their house. I had my laptop open, reviewing investment portfolios and quarterly reports, when my phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen, and I already knew from her tone in the first syllable that this wasn't a "how are you" call. "Emma, we need to talk about this weekend," she said, not even bothering with a greeting. There was that edge in her voice, the one that said she'd already made a decision and was just informing me of it. "Okay, what's up?" I kept my voice neutral, fingers still typing out an email. "Your sister and Richard are coming to visit for a week. They need the space, so we're going to need you to pack up your things and stay somewhere else. Just temporarily, of course." I stopped typing. "You want me to move out?" "Don't be dramatic, Emma. It's just for a week. Surely you have friends you can stay with. Madison and Richard need a proper vacation, and you know how cramped it gets when everyone's here." Cramped. The house had 4 bedrooms. I used one. They used one. That left 2 completely empty rooms, but somehow my presence made it cramped. "Mom, I live here," I said quietly. "And we're not asking you to leave permanently," she replied, irritation creeping in. "Just for 1 week? Is that really so much to ask? Your sister works so hard and Richard just got promoted at that big firm. They deserve a relaxing visit." Richard's promotion. I almost laughed. I'd personally approved that promotion 2 weeks ago during a board meeting, but of course she didn't know that. Before I could respond, I heard my father's voice in the background. "Is that Emma? Put me on speaker." "Emma," Dad's voice boomed through the phone, "your mother and I have already made up the guest rooms. We're not negotiating here. Pack what you need, find a friend's couch, and we'll see you in a week. This is about family." "Family," I repeated. "Yes, family. Madison's family. She's bringing her husband home, and we want them to be comfortable. You understand?" I understood perfectly. I'd understood for 29 years. "Sure. Dad, I'll pack tonight." "Good girl," he said, and I could hear the relief that I wasn't going to make a fuss. "Knew you'd be reasonable about this." I hung up and sat there for a moment, staring at my laptop screen. The irony was suffocating. 3 years ago, when my parents were drowning in debt and facing foreclosure on this very house, I'd bought it, anonymously through my LLC Hartwell Properties. I paid off their mortgage, cleared their debt, and never charged them a single month of rent. I told myself I did it because I loved them, because family helps family. But deep down, I think I did it hoping they'd somehow feel the shift, that they'd wake up one morning and think, things got better when Emma came into our lives. They never did. I'd spent 5 years building a small empire they knew nothing about. After college, I'd gotten into tech investing early, really early, and made smart bets that paid off bigger than I'd ever imagined. Real estate, stocks, startups. I diversified. I grew. I succeeded. And I hid every bit of it because I wanted them to love me for me, not for what I could give them. I drove a modest Honda, wore normal clothes, and worked remotely so they wouldn't ask too many questions about my job. But the biggest secret? 2 years ago, I'd become the majority shareholder in Preston and Associates, the prestigious consulting firm where my brother-in-law Richard worked, the same Richard who was coming to stay in my house, the same Richard whose career I'd been quietly supporting from the shadows, the same Richard who'd just received a promotion that I'd signed off on, and none of them had a clue. I started packing that night. My parents didn't even come upstairs to help or ask if I needed anything. I could hear them downstairs, already rearranging furniture, discussing where Madison and Richard would sleep, what meals they'd prepare, planning a life that for 1 week didn't include me. The next morning, I loaded my car while they buzzed around the kitchen. Mom was making her famous cinnamon rolls, Madison's favorite. She never made them for me. "You'll be back next Friday, right?" Mom asked, not looking up from the dough she was kneading. "We'll see," I said. "Don't be sulky, Emma. It's not attractive." I wasn't being sulky. I was being done. As I carried the last box to my car, Dad came out to the driveway. For a second, I thought maybe he'd help, maybe he'd say something kind. Instead, he said, "Make sure you take all your stuff. We don't want Madison tripping over your things." "Don't worry," I said. "I'm taking everything that's mine." I sat in my car and pulled out my phone. Derek, my property manager, answered on the first ring. "Ms. Hartwell, what can I do for you?" "I need you to issue a formal 2-week quit notice to the tenants at 428 Maple Drive." There was a pause. "Ma'am, isn't that where your family—" "Yes, 2 weeks. Start the paperwork today." "Understood. I'll have it processed and served by tomorrow afternoon." I hung up and started the engine. As I backed out of the driveway, Madison's white Tesla pulled in. Perfect timing. She stepped out wearing designer sunglasses and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Emma, leaving already?" She didn't hug me. She never did. "Yeah. You guys need the space." Richard got out from the passenger side and gave me a polite nod. "Hey, Emma, thanks for accommodating us." "No problem," I said, looking him directly in the eye. He had no idea I was technically his boss. None of them did. Madison was already walking toward the house, calling out, "Mom, we're here!" I watched them disappear inside, my parents rushing to greet them, arms wide, voices bright with joy. Nobody looked back at me. I drove away from that house, watching it shrink in my rearview mirror, and for the first time in years, I felt light. I headed straight to my penthouse downtown, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view they'd never seen. I poured myself a glass of wine, opened my laptop and booked a first-class ticket to the Maldives. Then I turned off my phone. 48 hours later, the eviction notice was served. And 48 hours after that, I turned my phone back on to find 47 missed calls and a flood of messages I wasn't ready to read yet. Instead, I posted a photo from my infinity pool overlooking crystal blue water. The caption read, "Finally staying where I'm actually wanted." The comments started rolling in immediately, but there were 3 I noticed right away. Mom, Dad, Madison. I smiled, took another sip of my drink, and watched the sunset. They wanted me gone? Wish granted, but they were about to learn a hard lesson about who actually held the power in this family, and I was just getting started. The first notification came at 6 in the morning, Maldives time, then another, then 10 more in the span of 3 minutes. I watched my phone buzz against the marble nightstand like it was having a seizure, but I didn't reach for it. Not yet. I ordered room service instead. Fresh tropical fruit, Belgian waffles, and the kind of coffee that costs more than my parents spent on groceries in a week. I ate slowly, deliberately, while my phone continued its desperate dance. By noon, I'd posted 3 more photos, me in a private cabana, me getting a massage on the beach, me holding a cocktail that probably cost what they used to spend on a month of utilities. Each caption was carefully chosen. Sometimes walking away is the biggest power move. Home is where you're valued, not tolerated. Living my best life has never felt so good. I finally picked up my phone and scrolled through the chaos. 47 missed calls had turned into 93. The voicemails were frantic. Mom's voice, shaking, demanding I call back immediately. Dad, angry at first, then confused, then something that almost sounded like panic. And Madison? Oh, Madison. Her messages were a journey all on their own. The first one was delusional. Madison. Emma, what is this nonsense about an eviction notice? Call me now. But by the 10th message, the tone had shifted. Emma, please, we need to talk about this. Where are you? I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I opened Instagram and saw that Madison had been stalking my posts. She'd commented on every single one. We need to talk. This isn't funny. Call me. What made me actually laugh out loud was seeing my mother comment, Sweetheart, those photos are lovely. Where did you get them? We really need to discuss this misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. They still thought this was some kind of mistake. I switched over to the group chat they'd created without me. Oh yes, I could see it because Madison had accidentally added me for 2 seconds before removing me. But those 2 seconds were enough for me to see the messages. Dad insisting there must be a mix-up with the eviction notice. Mom was crying about how they'd already promised Madison the house for the week. Madison absolutely losing it because her perfect vacation was falling apart. Then I saw the message that made everything worth it. Richard had written, I did some digging. That LLC on the eviction notice, Hartwell Properties, I think we need to talk about Emma. There was a long pause in the chat after that. Then Madison replied, What about Emma? Richard's response was 3 screenshots. My LinkedIn profile showing my position as founder and CEO of Hartwell Properties, corporate filings showing my majority stake in Preston and Associates, and a news article from 2 years ago about a young tech investor making waves in real estate and venture capital with my photo right there in the center. The group chat went silent for exactly 4 minutes, then exploded. Madison. This can't be real. Mom. That's not our Emma. Dad. How is this possible? Richard's final message was the one I'd been waiting for. It's real. Emma owns your house, and she's my boss. She's been my boss for 2 years. I could practically hear the record scratch from 7,000 miles away. The lawyer they hired confirmed it the next day. I know because Derek, my property manager, called me laughing. Ms. Hartwell, the tenants at Maple Drive retained counsel. Their lawyer called me, reviewed the documents, and then apparently told them they don't have a case. He asked them if you'd been charging rent. What did they say? They said no. The lawyer asked how long they'd been living there rent-free. They said 3 years. Derek was quiet for a moment. Ma'am, if you don't mind me asking, why did you let them live there without knowing you owned it? Because I'm an idiot who thought generosity would earn love, I said. But I'm recovering. The messages shifted after that. The anger disappeared, replaced by something worse, desperation dressed up as affection. Emma, sweetheart, we can explain everything. Please come home so we can talk. Emma, this is all just a big misunderstanding. We love you. Emma, we're family. Family forgives. Madison's messages were the most interesting. She'd gone from demanding to bargaining to something that almost looked like self-awareness. Emma, I'm starting to realize I never really knew you at all, and that's on me. I'm sorry. Richard sent one message directly. I owe you an apology, and probably my career. Can we talk? I responded to exactly one message, just one. Mom had sent a photo of the 3 of them sitting in the living room looking miserable with the caption, We're lost without you. I replied, Funny, I've been lost my whole life, and none of you noticed. Then I posted one final photo before my flight home, me on a private jet, champagne in hand with a caption that said, Sometimes the best revenge isn't hurting people back, it's letting them see exactly what they lost. See you soon. The moving trucks were scheduled to arrive at their door in exactly 5 days, and I was about to teach my family the most expensive lesson they'd ever learn, that respect isn't optional, it's required. I came home on a Wednesday. Not to Maple Drive, that chapter was closed. I came home to my penthouse, to the life I'd built in silence while they looked right through me. The floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city like a painting, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. The meeting was set for Friday night. Neutral ground. A private dining room at Marcello's, the kind of restaurant where the waiters know not to interrupt and the wine list requires a financial advisor. I booked it under my name and sent them the address. No explanations, no previews, just a time and place. I arrived first, wearing a black dress that cost more than their monthly grocery budget, my hair styled, my confidence rebuilt. When they walked in, I watched their faces cycle through shock, confusion, and something that looked almost like fear. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad stopped mid-step like he'd hit an invisible wall. Madison looked like she was seeing a ghost. And Richard? Richard looked like a man attending his own funeral. "Thank you for coming," I said, gesturing to the seats across from me. My voice was calm, controlled. "Please, sit down." They sat like scolded children, and the irony wasn't lost on me. "I'm sure you have questions," I continued. "But before anyone speaks, I need you to listen. Really listen. For once in my life, I need you to hear me." Mom started to say something, but I raised my hand and she actually stopped. 3 years ago, you were 3 months from losing your house. Foreclosure notices, debt collectors, sleepless nights. I remember all of it. So I bought the house. I paid off every penny you owed and let you live there rent-free. I never told you because I wanted to see if things would change. If maybe, just maybe, you'd start treating me like I mattered. Dad's face had gone pale. Madison was staring at the table. "I've built a life you knew nothing about because I kept hoping you'd love me for who I was, not what I could give you. I'm the reason Richard has a career. I approved his promotion 3 weeks ago. I've been his boss for 2 years, and not once did any of you think to ask what I actually did for a living." "Emma," Madison's voice cracked. "I'm not finished." My voice was sharper now. "When you called and told me to pack my things and leave so Madison could have a comfortable vacation, that was it. That was the moment I realized I'd been funding my own invisibility. You didn't ask me to leave for a week. You ordered me out of the house I owned without a second thought because I've never been the priority." "We didn't know," Mom whispered, tears streaming down her face. "You didn't know because you never asked. None of you ever asked about my life, my dreams, my accomplishments. Madison gets a new job, celebration dinner, I buy a house and save you from financial ruin." Silence, because you never even knew it happened. Richard finally spoke, his voice barely audible. "I had no idea, Emma. At work if I'd known. Your job is safe, Richard. I don't punish people for my family's mistakes, but we're done pretending we're close." The room was suffocating with tension. Dad tried to stand, tried to reach for authority he no longer had. "We're still your parents. You can't just—" "I can, and I am." I leaned forward. "Here's how this works. You have 60 days to find a new place. I'll give you 1 relocation payment, enough to get started, nothing more. If you want me in your life after that, you'll have to earn it. Equal treatment, real respect, or nothing at all." "Emma, please." Madison was crying now. "I know I messed up. I've been a terrible sister. I want to fix this." "Then fix it. Go to therapy. Figure out why you needed to be the center of attention so badly that you never noticed I was disappearing. But don't expect me to make it easy for you." That was the day I announced myself to them, and everything never remained the same. 6 months later, I hosted a small dinner at my place. They came, humbled, changed, trying. The conversation was awkward but real. Mom asked about my work and actually listened to the answer. Dad apologized without making excuses. Madison was seeing a therapist and working on herself. Richard kept things professional and respectful. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even close. But it was honest. As they left that night, Mom hugged me at the door. "I'm so sorry we didn't see you," she whispered. "You're seeing me now," I said. "That's a start." After they left, I stood on my balcony, looking out at the city lights. The girl who used to beg for scraps of attention was gone. In her place stood a woman who knew her worth and refused to settle for anything less. They say blood is thicker than water. But respect? Respect is thicker than both. My family kicked me out of the house I owned, and in doing so, they finally opened their eyes to the daughter they'd ignored for 29 years. I didn't get revenge. I got something better. I got my power back. Thanks for listening to the end. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about setting boundaries, finding your worth, and never letting anyone dim your light. Drop a comment and let me know. Have you ever had to walk away to be seen? I'd love to hear your story.